Good morning, Asean. Freshen up your world, your thought, and your idea with us every weekday from 7:30 to 8 a.m. I'm Patsurang Desha Putharangsi.
And I'm Weena Jumrud. It's Thursday, the 30th of May. So yesterday, Kun Patsurang, the Bank of Thailand, has decided to reduce the policy rate down at 25 percentage points, 0.25 percentage points, and it's the first reduction in 7 months after the domestic economy contracted in the first quarter of this year. The sluggish economic growth in China, the United States, and European Union is weighing on the Thai economy, the central bank said as it reduced its policy rate to 2.5%. Exports are likely to face downside risks because of slow growth in China, while inflationary pressure has eased, the Bank of Thailand said in a statement. The bank had faced pressure from the government and the business community to lower interest rates to slow capital inflows and help weaken the Thai baht, whose rise has made Thai exports less competitive. Thailand's economy shrank 2.2% in the 3 months to March from the previous quarter, the first contraction in more than a year, as manufacturing output fell, official data showed last week. On a year-on-year basis, GDP growth slowed to 5.3%. The unexpectedly weak performance followed a strong year-long recovery from devastating floods in late 2011 that hit major factories and caused a double-digit drop in gross domestic product. Policymakers expect the Thai economy to bounce back from the latest weak patch and expand throughout the year due to sound economic fundamentals, the central bank said. Analysts said the central bank was likely to keep the current policy in the coming months to see how the economy performs. The bank will maintain the policy rate at 2.5% throughout the second half of this year and take a wait-and-see attitude, according to Juarawee, the senior economist at Standard Chartered Bank.
Unfortunately, ethnic clash in Myanmar erupted again, Kurina, contradicting claims in state media that police had restored calm. And of course, dozens of young men and boys on motorbikes and on foot marauded through the city, armed with sticks and machetes of the city of 130,000 people in a mountainous region, about 700 kilometers from the commercial capital, Yangon. Well, 1 person was killed and 4 were wounded in fighting that began at about 2 p.m. So according to Yetut, a spokesman for President Thein Sein, he said police fired their guns to disperse the crowd. So by early evening, Muslim shops and homes in the city of Lashio were still burning in one quarter, underlying the difficulty the president faces in containing mounting religious violence in an era of historic reforms since military rule ended in March 2011. State television said a mosque, a Muslim religious school, and a number of shops were gutted by fires started on Tuesday by Buddhists who rampaged after hearing reports of a Muslim man setting a Buddhist woman on fire and badly wounded her. State media said calm had returned by Wednesday.
Well, in Myanmar, we know of the Thilawa Special Economic Zone as well as the Dawei Special Economic Zone. In Myanmar Focus Daily will show us why Myanmar prefers Thilawa over Dawei.
The recent visit of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to Myanmar puts a spotlight on Thilawa Special Economic Zone. In this trip, Japan signed bilateral agreement with Myanmar to develop the first phase of the economic zone. It looks like another economic zone Dawei has been downplayed, even though Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra, who recently traveled to Japan, urged the country to play a lead role in developing the project. But for Myanmar, it seems that they prefer Thilawa over Dawei. Our program earlier talked to an executive member of Union of Myanmar Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, or UMFCCI, on this topic. In your speech, you mentioned that the Dawei is for Thailand and for other countries, but Thilawa is more for Myanmar. And why is that?
Okay, when I say the way is more for the benefit of Thailand and the rest of the Southeast Asia countries, is that the way is marketed as a gateway. Gateway means you're going to go through us, that's all. But for Thilawa, we're wanting to have industries which are going to utilize the raw material from our land and employ our population and create jobs and process and then export, or for domestic consumption. Because if you look at the geographic conditions, the Dawei project is very close to the Thai border. So we expect that most of the products that will be produced in Dawei area will go back into Thailand to support the Thai industries, rather than for the consumption of our Myanmar citizens. So that's why I say that it is more important as for Thilawa to facilitate for the growth, the economic growth, and also the sustainable, living of our citizens.
Located around the corner of Yangon, Thilawa is a cooperation between Myanmar and Japan under the master plan signed by both sides in 2012. Myanmar holds a 51% shares, while Japan holds a 49%. The development area of Thilawa is around 2,400 hectares with multi-purpose development, such as manufacturing area, logistics area, commercial area, residential area, and education area. The Special Economic Zone is likely to create around 200,000 jobs, with the aims to supply commodity goods to Myanmar, improve living standard of people, and expand international trade. Currently, there are about 4,000 hectares of industrial estate in Myanmar. The Yangon division contains most of the industrial estate, with around 46% of the total. As Myanmar is shortage of industrial land, the country welcomes investment in industrial estate and industrial zone in the country.
There's a shortage of industrial land in Myanmar. Our existing industrial zones are already quite crowded, and the land price is extremely expensive compared to the rest of the Asian nations. So there's a lot of opportunities for developers to create industrial zones, special economic zones, to attract foreign investment. And Myanmar is like the last frontier, The international companies may already have their manufacturing facilities in Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, but Myanmar, the land mass is also like the second biggest in Southeast Asia. So our population is big. There's a lot of potential for the consumer products. So in that sense, a lot of factories are wanting to relocate to Myanmar. But we are shortage of industrial land. So we do want to see more and more investments in industrial estates, industrial zones, and SEZs.
Juarawee Sang reporting from Yangon.
Cebu Pacific airline of the Philippines said Wednesday it had cancelled the planned launch of a new Taiwan route because of the tensions over Taiwanese fishermen being killed by the Filipino government. Filipino Coast Guard, sorry. So the airline had been scheduled to begin flights between Cebu, the Philippines' second biggest city, and Taiwan's capital, Taipei, in July. But this week indefinitely suspended the route. Well, an airline spokeswoman said it would be a bit difficult to start it with the current tension. So some passengers had already requested refunds or travel changes. However, she said an existing route between Manila and Taipei would be kept. Coast Guard officers shot dead a 65-year-old Taiwanese man on May 9th, who they said was aboard a boat fishing illegally in Philippine waters. Taiwan's government, which said the incident took place in its exclusive economic zone, reacted with fury, issuing a red alert against traveling to the Philippines and imposing economic sanctions. The zones claimed by the two sides overlap in some areas. It also rejected repeated apologies from the Philippine government and demanded the criminal charges be brought against those responsible for the killing. Philippine Tourism Department spokesman Benito Bengzon said the travel alert had started to have an impact, and a strategy was being put into place to try and make up for the fall from Taiwan by attracting tourists from other markets. Budget carrier Zest Airlines said last week it had cancelled also flights between Taiwan and Cebu, a gateway to the popular beach resort in Boracay. Taiwan has also frozen the hiring of overseas Filipino workers, or the famous OFWs, and an invitation for the Philippine national basketball team to play in a regional tournament in Taipei was also rescinded. Resilient city growth needed in Bangkok, Kunrina, and it could save billions of damage costs.
The unprecedented natural disasters recorded to date has become a serious issue for major metropolitans, where at the same time they also aim to achieve competitiveness in terms of the economy, quality of life, and environment. Natural disaster has become one of the serious issues taken into consideration when developing the infrastructure, and especially for a big city like this, like the New York City, constant power supply is needed in order for the growth, as well as technology that will step into play and offer solution that will guarantee mitigation to damage and losses. Bangkok weathered the devastating 2011 flooding that caused an estimated $45 billion in damage. The New York City was battered by Superstorm Sandy a year later, which crippled the New York Stock Exchange for a stretch of 2 days. With dense populations, cities are particularly vulnerable to natural hazards. Thus, the threats from extreme weather patterns cannot be taken lightly. A study by Germany's industrial bellwether Siemens AG showed that a resilient urban planning is becoming a new trend in city development, as it can reduce potentially huge damages and promise enhancing productivity.
So resilient infrastructure development is basically addressing the infrastructure in the case of an hazard, if something unexpected happens. And it's the question whether or not that infrastructure can take this kind of blow in terms of, let's say, being intact, even though you have an impact on that infrastructure on the one side. So that it means it's whether or not it's still intact, whether you can, let's say, shut parts out and let the core system still run.
Although natural disasters cannot be prevented in the case of future development, Butch emphasized that infrastructure can be better protected through technology. Resilient infrastructure is not an option, but a must. The new paradigm has also shifted for a more interconnected collaboration, which calls for all related agencies of all levels to work together in the planning process, whether it be officials from the transportation, security, or energy sectors. While money has been deployed for a smart infrastructure solution in metropolitan expansion.
In Bangkok in particular, and I'm talking about every large city, it's really mandatory that you do that and start the planning early, because normally the traffic grows faster than you expect.
But architectural experts deemed the process of city planning for Thailand still faces the problem of isolated planning between the local and central administrative bodies. There is still a limit of what the local administration can do or cannot do.
This kind of risks is different from economic shocks or any other risks that we faced before. We have to understand this first, because this risk is a long term, take long time to see impacts, maybe 30 years. But the impact is very severe. It's severe, like you can displace like million people, like what happened in Bangladesh. Like 4 million people has been displaced from coastal cities. So the impact is huge.
According to Professor Wijit Busabamarom from the Faculty of Architecture and Planning of Thammasat University, if Thailand does not start planning its approach holistically and take the agenda to a national level, the kingdom could never be ready to deal with external and extreme risk.
If we don't incorporate different sectors to the risk reduction strategies, I think we not been prepared yet. Like during this period of time is emergency already. Because imagine if you have to do some mega project, or if you have to come up with like new education paradigm to tell younger generation that they will grow in the next 30 years, that what is climate change, how you're going to cope with risk. It takes time, and it has to be implemented now.
Juarawee reports.
Malaysian opposition figures are charged with sedition charges. Find out more after this break. Tech Savvy today will take you to see the same technology that's used in paying our tollway on Easy Pass, like in Bangkok, and used in identifying products. Let's go see what it is. Well, this technology...
What is it about again? The RFID?
That's short for radio frequency identification. I think we have the report up now. Let's go see. Welcome to Tech Savvy, a program to broaden your perspective on the IT industry. Tech Savvy today will take you to see a technology we use every day while traveling on mass transit transport or while paying our highway tolls. It's simple and it's also gaining prominence in the business sector. Traveling cards on Bangkok subway MRT, electronic toll collection Easy Pass, detectors for stolen products, and electronic passports are all everyday items that, believe it or not, use the same technology as those that track and identify products for logistics. The technology used is called radio frequency identification, or RFID, which is a system that uses tags or labels attached to the objects to be identified. RFID has two important parts: the tag, which is attached to an object and stores information about it, and the interrogator, or reader, which sends a signal to the tag and read its response. Jumrud Sawangsamud, director of the RFID Institute of Thailand, explained its working process. RFID used for toll collection in Thailand, called Easy Pass, for example, reads information about a vehicle at a distance 5 meters from the toll gate and sends back information regarding its plate number and allows automatic deduction of the toll fee. Thailand actively supports RFID. Currently, the business sector is increasingly interested in this technology as its use widens.
ครับตอนนี้เทคโนโลยี RFID นะครับก็เริ่มเข้าไปในสู่ของภาคอุตสาหกรรมค่อนข้างเยอะนะครับแล้วก็ยกตัวอย่างเช่นในเรื่องของการผลิตนะครับเรามีการใช้ RFID ในเรื่องของการเพิ่มประสิทธิภาพในการผลิตนะฮะยกตัวอย่างเช่นเราสามารถที่เอา RFID เนี่ยไปติดที่ตัวสินค้าแล้วเราสามารถใช้ในเรื่องของการทำโลจิสติกนะฮะซัพพลายเชนเรื่องการจัดส่งสินค้าให้ถูกต้องและแม่นยำนะครับและรวมทั้งในเรื่องของการที่ใช้ในการตัดสต็อกสินค้าการควบคุม inventory อย่างนี้เป็นต้นพวกนี้ก็เราจะใช้เยอะนะครับในส่วนที่2ก็คือในส่วนเรื่องของงานทั้งงานบริการนะครับอย่างเช่นตอนนี้เรา RFID เนี่ยนะครับไปใช้ติดในเรื่องของการให้ข้อมูลนะครับเราจะยกตัวอย่างเช่นเราไปเดินดูที่พิพิธภัณฑ์นะครับอย่างที่พระเจ้าสามพระยาก็เราใช้ RFID ให้การบริการให้ข้อมูลกับคนที่มาเดินเยี่ยมชมได้อย่างนี้เป็นต้นนี้เห็นไหมตอนนี้เราเริ่มมีการใช้งาน RFID อย่างค่อนข้างแพร่หลายมากขึ้นครับ
RFID is currently developed to be used to control animal breeding and inspect production in the food industry. The official also said Thailand will change the system for product identification within 3 years from barcode to RFID.
ก็คือตอนนี้เราจะคุ้นเคยกับเรื่องของการใช้ตัวบาร์โค้ดนะครับเห็นว่าตอนนี้เนี่ยเราซื้อสินค้าเนี่ยเรียกว่าสินค้าเกือบ 100% เนี่ยก็จะมีเป็นรหัสบาร์โค้ดอยู่แล้วนะครับในอนาคตเนี่ยเราก็เชื่อว่ามันก็จะเริ่มมีค่อยๆมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงนะครับอย่างเช่นสินค้าบางตัวที่มีมูลค่าสูงนะครับอย่างเช่นเราซื้ออะไรบางอย่างเช่นอาจจะราคาเป็นหลักพันหลักหมื่นอย่างเงี้ยมันก็สามารถที่จะคุ้มค่าในการที่จะเอา RFID เนี่ยไปใช้แต่ถ้าสินค้าที่ราคาที่ถูกมากเช่นเราซื้อขนมปังชิ้นหนึ่งหรืออะไรเงี้ยซึ่งหลักราคา10 บาท 20 บาทอย่างเงี้ยอาจจะไม่คุ้มในเรื่องเชิงของ RFID แต่เราสามารถที่จะเอา RFID เนี่ยไปใช้ในด้านอย่างเช่นเรื่องของการเพิ่มประสิทธิภาพลดข้อผิดพลาดในการของ human error ของการที่เราใช้คนในการบันทึกข้อมูลอย่างนี้เนี่ยมันเริ่มคุ้มค่ามากขึ้นก็จะเริ่มเห็นแล้วนะครับว่าในอนาคตอีกสัก 1-3 ปีข้างหน้าเนี่ยก็จะเริ่มมีปริมาณการใช้ RFID เนี่ยหลากหลายมากขึ้น
It is evident that this technology is playing a more prominent role in the business sector and our everyday lives. making it hard to overlook this wireless technology from now. That wraps up this episode of Tech Savvy. Stay tuned next Thursday on how RDIF helps Thailand's customs. See you next time.
That's it for today's edition of Good Morning ASEAN. We'll see you again, same time, same place, same channel.
Catch us again from 7:30 to 8 a.m. on Krungthep Thulakit TV. I'm Veena Jongprasit.
And I'm Patsurang Desha Puttharangศรีสวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ